cross-examination.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm just going to ask you a series of questions. And first off, I'd like to start by talking a little bit about you. Now you are Avery Bancroft's executive assistant, right?
Yes, I am. I got the job after I went back to Midlands from Vegas.
Right. And you work at the Black Bear Casino.
As his executive assistant, yes.
And Avery Bancroft owns that Black Bear Casino, right?
Yes.
Now, you are aware that Avery Bancroft is the defendant in today's case, right?
Yes, yes I am.
And that you're testifying on behalf of the defense.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move forward and talk about your job. Now, part of your job is to set up meetings, right?
Yes.
And one of these meetings was on March 2nd, and that was with Mickey Keenan?
We did plan to meet for that day. That was, well, yes, it was related to my job.
That's the day he revealed he was an undercover officer?
Yes.
And you decided to go along with his investigation?
I thought helping out the police was the right thing for me to do.
Right. So you scheduled another meeting, right? That was on March 31st?
Yes.
And that was between you, Mickey Keenan, and Avery Bancroft?
Yes.
You received an email before this meeting, correct?
Yes, I did the day
That
before.
was from Mickey Keenan?
Yes.
But nowhere in that email did he ever tell you to mention the word bribe, right?
He told me to mention sweetening the pot.
Right. But that was not the word bribe, right?
No.
Okay. So let's move along. There was another meeting scheduled on April 13th, right?
Yes.
And that meeting was supposed to be between Mr. Covington, yourself, Avery Bancroft, and Mickey Keenan, right?
Yes.
Let's backtrack a little bit, because the day before, you actually had a meeting between Danny Hoy, yourself, and Avery Bancroft.
I did sit in on that meeting, yes.
And Mickey Keenan was absent from that meeting, right?
Yes, he was.
In this meeting, Avery Bancroft asked questions of Mr. Hoy about security.
Yes.
That was not Mickey Keenan asking about security, right?
No, it was not.
Avery Bancroft asked questions like where the cameras were.
Yes.
He wanted to know if there were any blind spots, right?
Yes.
And that's when Mr. Hoy made it clear that there was a blind spot. Yeah?
The conversation was about the security for the next meeting.
Yes, but back to my question, he did make it clear that there was a blind spot.
There weren't any cameras where we were going to be meeting.
Right. Now, Mr. Bancroft, in this meeting with Mr. Hoy, made it clear that he wanted everyone sweet before they came into that April 13th meeting.
Yes.
Now, that wasn't Mr. Keenan that was asking for that, right, Mr. Hyde?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so let's move on to that April 13th meeting. And in this meeting, you were talking about proposals, right?
Yes.
You were aware that there were other proposals submitted, right?
I was aware of one other from Shannon Stark.
Now, in this meeting, Mr. Covington actually said that I have some other proposals on my desk, so I'm going to need a good reason to vote for yours, right?
Yes.
And Avery Bancroft responded by saying, how about 100,000 reasons?
Avery Bancroft was very confident of how good the proposal was.
But back to my question, he said, how about 100,000 reasons, right, Mr. Hyde?
Yes, he did.
Now, to be clear, that wasn't Mr. Keenan that told him to say that, right?
No, it wasn't.
Mr. Keenan didn't say, how about 100,000 reasons?
No, it wasn't.
Mr. Keenan didn't speak on behalf of Avery Bancroft, right?
No, he didn't.
Now, later in this meeting, you left to use the bathroom, right?
Yes, I did briefly.
You stepped out for a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
And in that time, you can't tell us what Mr. Keenan said or did.
I don't know what anyone in that room did when I was out.
Let's move on to that last meeting that was supposed to occur. That was April 16th, right?
Yes.
And before that meeting, you were with Mr. Bancroft.
I was.
You were in his office?
Yes, when I walked into the office, I saw Avery Bancroft putting stacks of bills into a briefcase, and I asked him what was going on, and he said, "There's no turning back now, let's go."
Okay, well, let's backtrack to that cash that was being put into the briefcase. Now, you would say that looked to be around $200,000 that he was putting into that briefcase, correct?
Roughly, yes.
Okay, and then he took the briefcase to the April 16th meeting,
Yes.
and Chase Covington didn't show up to this meeting.
No.
And eventually Mickey Keenan left the meeting, right?
Yes, he stormed out.
And then after Mickey Keenan left, Avery Bancroft left.
Avery Bancroft left before Mickey Keenan left.
Okay, well, to be clear, Mickey Keenan did come back to the meeting.
Yes, and Avery Bancroft wasn't in the room.
That would leave just you and Mickey Keenan in that room, right?
Yes.
So Mickey Keenan and Avery Bancroft were not together on April 16th at that point.
Yes.
And you don't know where Avery Bancroft went?
No.
Okay. The next day was April 17th,
Yes.
and that was the vote.
Yes, the casino was approved that day.
That was the day that Mr. Chase Covington voted in favor of Avery Bancroft, right?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.